Hello, it is Bridget here from Bridget's Healthy Kitchen with another episode of Quarantine Kitchen. Today's class is being decided by the audience, by you guys. You asked me whether I would do a class that's solely focused on those little chef's hacks, tips, and secrets. All those little secret sauce things that you just kind of see chefs do and you wonder, how do they know how to do that? So I'm going to be sharing with you an entire class devoted to little tiny secrets, little tiny tips that are going to make, not just make you a better cook once you get into your kitchen, but it's also going to make that experience more enjoyable, which is always a bonus as well. So thank you for joining me. If it's the first time you've joined me here on the Quarantine Kitchen, let me know where you're coming from. Let me know where you are and also how things are going in your part of the world. I'm coming to you from Sydney, just in case it's your first time. We're based here in Sydney. It is a beautiful day here in Sydney. We're day 14 of our quarantine. So things are starting to get a little bit interesting in the house, to say the very least. But at the same time, we are well, we are safe, and we're minimizing our going out as much as possible. In fact, I have not left the house since last Friday, where I went to do a bit of shopping. So we're on day 14, feeling pretty good. Definitely the perfect time to get into some quarantine cooking and a little bit of chef's tips and secrets. So I'm going to bring you down to my bench, down to here, because the things I've got a few different things that we're going to be running through today. Like I said, they're all extremely simple. Some of them you may know. Let me warn you in advance. You're like, I know that one. And if you do, excellent. But maybe there's one that you don't know, or two that you don't know. We're doing a few here. We're going to get them through them pretty quickly because they are easy stuff. They're not hard. So we're going to get through them really, really quickly. And it's going to be lots of fun. So come down to my bench. Please do come down to my bench. Here we go. I'm just moving YouTube, and there is Facebook. All right, here we go. So one of the first things I want to show you guys, when it comes to, this is a tip all into itself. So we're starting off with the very first tip, and that is, if you put your chopping board down on the bench and you find that it moves around quite a lot for you, the best way you can secure your chopping board, and it's what pretty much every single chef does, is you can either use a tea towel, like I'm doing here, and what you will notice once that tea towel goes down is that this is going nowhere, right? There's no more slipping and sliding, because you need to make sure that your chopping board is secure, so it just makes your life a little bit easier when it comes to the kitchen and what you're cooking and what you're chopping. So tea towel, a wet paper towel can also go under there as well. A little cloth, dishcloth, whatever it is, that's going to help to secure your board to the bench. Number one tip. See, we started off already. Hi to Leslie, all the way from Tari. Good to see you, my darling. All right, so that's the first tip. When I asked what tips you guys wanted to see, this was probably the number one tip. People wanted to know how to peel garlic, because it can be a little bit like, it can be such a pain point that you're like, I don't want to do it because it's too hard. So how do you peel garlic? Firstly, the difference between this is called a bulb and this is called a clove, as you know. So the first thing that we're going to do, and we are going to get my big knife, which has disappeared on me. Mahi, what did you do with my big knife?
Just lift right here.
Big knife.
Just lift right here.
No. Okay, I don't have my big knife. Give me a second, guys. I've got to find my big knife. No? Where is it?
In the block.
No. Well, that's weird. That's really odd. The reason why I'm looking for my big knife, Mahi used it to cut bread not long ago. Aha! Aha, we found it. We found it. My big chef's knife. This is honestly the easiest way. I'm just going to give it a bit of a clean. He's still got bread on it. Look, he's naughty. He's still got bread on my big knife. Give it a bit of a clean down. Got to start with clean utensils, of course. So I'm using my big chef's knife for this, which is just so much easier than trying to use a small knife to do this peeling. Because what you want to do is you want to take up your clove. Like, you could break all the cloves straight off the bulb. Whoop, break them straight off, just like that. I have heard people, and let me know if you've got a tip that you want to share with us as well, but I know of people that swear by taking all the cloves and putting them into a jar and then giving them a really good shake. And yes, you will remove some of the skins that way. You won't remove all of them. If you were to ask a chef what way they do it, chances are this is going to be the answer that they give you. So they put all their cloves on one side, they take up their big knife, like their heaviest bladed knife, they pick up a clove, put the flat of the knife, not like this, I'm putting the flat of the knife on the clove, and then using that part, which is quite a heavy part of my palm, I just whack it down, and then what you'll find is that your clove or your skin will just pop off for you nice and easy. And what we kind of do is we start a little bit of a production line. This is another chef's tip. Rather than me peeling one and then chopping through that one and then peeling another, the fastest thing you can do is think of like a production line, like you're in a factory. You do one movement all at the same time. So we're going to do that. We're just going to break them down, give them a bit of a smash. That's the first movement that we're going to do. And you get into this bit of a rhythm, as you can see, I had a bit of a rhythm going there. No, I've never ever played the drums, in case you're wondering whether I've done percussion. And look at that. Come off. Thank you. Very easy. Very, very easy. It just pops right off for you. And so rather than me doing one at a time, I get this wonderful little production line going. I love production lines. In fact, I love watching those shows on TV, and they're called like Inside the Factory, and they show you how production lines work. I'm fascinated by it. And I think that's the chef in me, being fascinated by these ideas of production lines. And look at that. I peeled, half a bulb of garlic within not even a minute. So that is the best way to do it. Another secret, if you're constantly having to open your cupboard and put your rubbish into the bin, that takes too much time. Forget about that. Chefs always have a waste bowl near them. I've always got a bowl where my waste goes into. I usually put my organic waste in one bowl, so I can put it either into a compost. We've got a little bit of a scrap bucket happening at the moment. I put my organic waste into one, and then bigger things, then I can put them to the side, or they go into the drawer. But when a lot of waste, like this sort of stuff, have a bowl. You will be so pleasantly surprised how just having a bowl on your bench is so much more efficient than having to open the drawer or walk over to the rubbish bin all the time. It keeps your workspace tidy, which is really important. We need to have a tidy workspace, and it also means that you're keeping all of your rubbish confined to one spot. There's nothing worse than doing this with the skins and then just pushing them off. No, put them in your bowl. Trust me, it's heaps better. So that's how you peel garlic. That's tip number 2. Actually, it's about tip number 3 already. That's how we peel garlic. The next one I'm going to show you, and I've done this one before, but we'll do it really quickly for anyone who's never seen me do this before. We're going to peel and chop an onion, because it definitely is, once again, go to my waste bowl. It definitely is one of those things that there is a technique involved to make your life just that much easier. I'll just bring you up a little bit so you can see. There you go. Right, so always start peeling at the root. That's the part where all the skin's attached. And I'm using my smaller knife this time. It's kind of vegetable or a paring knife. It's going to cut that root off, and then using my knife, I'm just going to peel down. Rather than trying to attack it from this end, seriously, attack it from the root. And you just get these long peels of onion skin as opposed to short peels. And then using our little knife again, we're just going to take off that part that's inedible, and we're left with our onion. Easy. Alright, I'm probably going to cry, but you can't see my face anyway, so it's all good. Okay, we're going to chop it now. I'm going to move back to my large knife. You could also look at using a knife like this, which is a vegetable knife. Probably one of my favorite knives, but I'm quite liking this big one at the moment, especially because it's a bit hard to find, so I'm going to use them a lot today. So to cut our onion, I'm going to have the root facing up for a start. I'm then going to slice right down through the middle, and what I have now done is I've made a very secure platform to cut from. See this? Very insecure. This is rolling all over the place. You don't want to cut your onion that, because it's really dangerous. What you want to do, and we just work on one half at a time, is you want to have a secure platform to work from, which is the cutting. And there's a couple of different types of cuts that you can do here. I did a video all about chefs' cutting techniques a couple of days ago. Mahi, could you share that link for our chef's knife skills that we did? If you haven't seen that video, we run through this as well in more depth. But there's a couple different cuts you can use from your onion now that you've got that secure surface to work from. I'm going to leave the root intact. I'm not even going to cut down that end. I'm going to cut down the other end, so this always stays intact. And you could obviously just do half circles, like that. You could also do this style of cut, which is just, I just spun it around. And now what we've got is it kind of attached to itself, whereas obviously with the half circles, they can be broken up. You've got that, and the last cut I'm going to show you, and if you're wondering about chef skills, how do you chop really fast, that video that Mahe's just about to share with you guys, that's what it's all about. It's all about learning how to cut like a chef, cut like a pro. So you can learn those techniques in that video. It's an awesome video, actually. It's really, really awesome because it gives you such a good guidance on how to do those really cool chops. And then you're like, you've got your party trick forever when you can chop. All right, so with this half, we're going to create a small dice. I'm going to move on to my smaller knife here just because it's a bit easier. Once again, the root is intact. It's down that end of the onion. And I'm just going to start to make incisions along the onion. I'm not going as far as the root. I'm only cutting through, as you can see, but actually not breaking it up. So everything is still intact because it's the root's job is there to help you with this cutting process. That's what the root's for. It keeps everything together in one piece. And now I've just cut down the other way, which makes it really easy, back to my large knife, for me to then very gently and very slowly just slice through it. Remember, take your time. If cutting isn't your thing, take your time. The more practice you get, the faster you can get and the better you can get as well. And so what we now have is that wonderful small dice, also known in the industry as brunoise. So that's what we have there, which is cool. So you've learned another cool little technique. Like I said, there's 3 different ways you can cut an onion. How many ways can you cut an onion? That's probably a pun somewhere. And there's 3 great ways for you. I mean, of course, there is nothing stopping you from whacking it in here. After everything I just showed you, like, why don't you do that to begin with? Absolutely, these things are legendary. I love these so much. They make my job so much easier. I don't get onion stinky fingers, which is never pleasant, but I also don't cry when they go into here. So there's nothing stopping you from popping your onion in here. When you do, just chop it up into chunks. Don't put the whole onion in. Like cut a half into about, 6 to 8 pieces. That goes in. Don't overfill this, maybe a half at a time. Put the lid on, give it a quick little blend, and then you get similar to what I have here, which is my brunoise. Similar to that. So that's onion. While we're talking about this, let's also talk about ginger. So you guys know that I would then, the best way obviously to chop up my garlic, rather than doing it by hand, doing it in here, right? Yeah. That is the best way to chop up your garlic. Trust me, hands down. And if you're wondering about how you store it once it's chopped, you can either store small quantities in the fridge in a little, sealed container. Make sure it's airtight because you don't want garlic smells permeating throughout your fridge. You can also store it in the freezer as well. Garlic, minced or chopped garlic, stores really well in the freezer, as does my next ingredient we're going to talk about, which is ginger. So this ginger that I have here, this is known as young ginger. You can sort of tell it's got a very light colored skin. So it's very, very delicate. It's got quite older ginger tends to be quite more robust and peppery, whereas this stuff is very light and fresh. So I'm using young ginger today. I don't have a preference over old and young, but when it's young, it's really in season, and it definitely has a more of a sweetness to it than your older ginger. So the trick with ginger is don't peel it. I know I said that. I'm going to say it once more in case you didn't hear me properly. Do not peel your ginger. Don't waste your time. Don't waste the ginger. Literally, forget about it. If you want to grate it, one of my graters here, possibly not. If you wanted to grate it, you'd get a little mini hand grater without peeling it, and you would just grate it straight off of this. Quite all right. But if you wanted to have ginger sitting in your fridge waiting for you, just like your garlic is, then the best way to do it once again is we go back to our machine, taking up your ginger. Once again, you want to just put it into chunks. You don't want to have large pieces and small pieces. Kind of make sure that it's as even as possible. And very much like the garlic, you don't want to overcrowd your machine. But there is absolutely no reason to peel your ginger. I haven't peeled my ginger for a couple of years. and I'm good. I'm okay. It's just, it's one of those little things you're like, if you're really pedantic, go on, peel it. I'm not, because the flavor, you cannot tell the difference, honestly. So, taking up that, I'm just going to take the other end of my machine. Beep. Give it a bit of a blend. No, I'm not, because this isn't in properly. Let's make sure it's all working properly. Here we go. We should have more luck this time. Better luck this time. Alright, ginger's done. Saves you a lot of time, saves you on peeling, saves you on ginger, saves you on money. So once again, just like the garlic, you can absolutely freeze that down or have it in your airtight container. I do find that the ginger does last a little bit better than garlic in the fridge. I tend to do more ginger like this than I do garlic. I do garlic more often, but I also do have garlic frozen down in the freezer for when I'm in a rush and I don't want to chop it, which is pretty much all the time. I'm just like, I can't be bothered. So I do have some ready to go in the freezer as well. So now that my ginger's there, I might as well blend up my garlic. Why not? We're here. Whole cloves can go on with this. You don't have to worry about chopping it or rough chopping it. Now you may be wondering, why didn't I clean that before I did that? The reason I didn't clean it, garlic is so overpowering. All that, just that tiny little bit of ginger in there, the garlic's going to totally take over anyway. So hence why I don't even bother to clean these between. I always do, if I'm doing, that sort of thing, ginger and then garlic, I always do the ginger first. A little secret, I always do the ginger first before I do the garlic. Because the garlic, like I said, the garlic's so strong, and then if I didn't clean it out, our ginger would taste like garlic. And if your ginger's going into a sweet dish, you definitely do not want it tasting like garlic. So if you are using a little machine to break this down or to meal prep for you for the week, ginger first, do not peel, garlic next, don't even bother about cleaning it out. And remember, you can freeze both of them, or they do last for a couple of days in the fridge. Ginger's about over a week. This one will stay fresh like this only for a couple of days, and you might find it will go green on you. It just means it's a fresh product. Nothing wrong with that. So that is our two, and probably the two ingredients that you guys know I use these all the time. They're also amazing immune boosting foods. And right now we need to boost our immune system. These two, get it in as much as you can. Handle. If you use too much garlic, good luck to your family. If you want to breathe on them, I'm like, oh no. All right, so those two are there. The next thing that we're going to be doing, something really simple, but kind of cool, something that I didn't realize. Oh, look at these. Can you see my little bowls? Oh, hang on, he's got a face too. It's a frog. And this, I think this is the chicken. Isn't it cute? I know, right? Got these from Daiso. You know Daiso, the little Japanese store? Great Japanese store. And I just thought they were the cutest things ever. So yeah, we've got a frog and a chicken today. They're going to be our bowls. Because what we're going to do next, I'm going to teach you guys the easiest way to separate eggs, separate the whites from the yolks, without getting any yolk in the white and without getting any shell in the white or the yolk, or vice versa. Depending on what you're making will determine what you're going to be using it for. If you are making meringue or pavlova, you definitely want to not have any yolk at all, not even any traces, because your meringue will not work. It'll deflate. So we need to make sure there's no traces of yolk. And the best way to do that is to have your two bowls at the ready. I'm using a room temperature egg, and I am cracking it as close to the middle of that egg as possible. So close to the middle. I'm not being scientific here. I'm just trying to get it as close to the middle as possible. Then using my two thumbs, just like you would normally with an egg, I'm going to pull it apart, just gently. Take your time. And as I'm pulling it apart, obviously the white is just beginning to naturally drop down. All that's left for me to do is just to begin to transfer the yolk between the two shells. And as I'm transferring, as you can see, the white continues to drip down. So I can tell you that this is the easiest way to do it. I'm just going to give it a bit of a helping hand as well. I'm going to tell you how easy this is. When I worked at a certain cafe here in Sydney about 12 years ago, I was the head chef, and we would go through a particular dish called ricotta hotcakes. You had to separate the whites and the eggs to make these ricotta hotcakes, and I'd make up like about 15 litres, maybe 20 litres of this mixture every morning before the crowds came in. And I used to have to separate yolks and whites, and I would be separating around about 70 eggs. So I'm telling you, this is the fastest way and also the most effective way. So then the yolk just goes in there. If you find that you have any shell that happened to catch itself into your whites, the easiest and the best way to get rid of that shell is to take up an eggshell and then put one of the empty eggshells, put it into the white, and what you will find, because I just had the most smallest bit of shell in there, it was so tiny you can barely see it, I just had that in there. The eggshell that's lingering in your white or your yolk that you don't want is attracted to the eggshell, and it's like a magnet. So as soon as that goes in, the magnet goes zip, and the eggshell that you accidentally cracked in will just be magnetized to each other, and then you can simply take it out just like that. Pretty easy, right? We'll do it one more time so you can see. Remember, crack as close as you can to the middle. Using your thumbs, very gently separate. And then, remember, we're just going to transfer the yolk in between. I know there's gadgets you can buy to do this. Chefs don't use gadgets. We use what's most effective and fastest. Seriously, this is the most effective and the fastest. And then our yolk goes in there. No shell this time. That can go into my waste bowl. And I've got nearly a whole meringue there, or pavlova. Only one more egg white. 3 will make a really gorgeous pavlova. And then I've got 2 beautiful, can you guys see without them falling out? Can you see? 2 gorgeous egg yolks that are still intact as well. So that is how you separate an egg really, really quickly. Next one is another little tip that you guys asked. I'm going to flip my board this time. Another little chef secret. My board now has onions and garlic. Now, if it had raw meat or anything like that, I would probably clean this board down before I continued on. I've only had onions and garlic, and so is my knife. I'm going to get that clean first. Both knives need a bit of a clean. But because I only had onions and garlic on my board, what I'm going to do, rather than clean my board off this time, because there's no dribbles from meat juices or anything, or chicken or anything like that, I'm just going to flip it, just like that. And now I have a clean board to start with, because the next thing I'm going to teach you guys, which you definitely did ask for, which I forgot what a cool little trick this is how do you really easily peel fruit. Because even if I've got an orange in front of me, well, it's kind of not an orange, it's kind of a green, isn't it? I mean, it's not very orange. Jeez, it's a bit dodgy. It's a green. I've got a green sitting in front of me right now. And you could pretend this is a pineapple. You could even pretend this is a watermelon or a rock melon. It's the same principles no matter what you are cutting, yeah? So it's really easy when we are dealing with skins that you don't eat. So for example, pineapple skin, even though it makes a really delicious drink, or watermelon skin, even though it makes a really delicious pickle, or orange skin, which you can make marmalade out of, but you know, we want to remove it if we just want to eat or access the flesh. So what's the best way to do that? So I'm going to go back to my vegetable knife, so this size knife. I'm going to give it a little bit of a sharpen, because it is a little bit on the blunt side. I forgot to do it this morning. And if you're wondering about how to sharpen your knife, literally go back to that video I made a couple days ago about knife skills. I go through this sharpening process in depth. But just very briefly for you guys who don't want to watch another video, is you always start at the base of your knife there. See where my fingers are there? You start there, and what you want to do is you want to drag the knife down the steel at around about, I'm not going to say a 45-degree angle, it's more like a 15 to 20-degree angle. So it's quite flush towards the steel. So start at the base and just work down to the tip. And then on the underside, I'm now sharpening the other side of the blade, because blades have two sides. I'm going to do the same thing. That's all I'm doing. About a 15 to 20-degree angle, starting at the base, going to the tip, starting at the base, going to the tip. So I'm sharpening both sides of the blade, as in that edge there has 2 sides, yeah? that side and that side. All right. Also make sure once you've had a little bit of a go on the steel, is give it a wipe, because there will be metal filaments that you have bought off on the sharpening process. So always take the metal off. All right. Imagine that this is a watermelon or a green, whatever it is. We need to now peel this. The best way to do it, watermelon, green, rock melon, pineapple. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take off both sides of the fruit. So firstly, I've got a nice solid surface to work from. Once again, safety first. And I also am now able to see what's inside of there. How much pith do I want to remove? Now, I don't want to remove too much, but at the same time, I don't want to remove too little, because that's bitter, right? So taking up my veggie knife, I'm just going to start up the top and just begin to shave down around the side of the fruit. And now I'm looking into it and I can actually see where the pith is, so I've got more of a guide. So just turning it ever so slightly, I'm just going to follow where I can see the pith and just keep on working my way down. So I'm just putting the knife just under the pith so I can take as much of that stuff off as possible that we don't want to eat, only because it's bitter. And just keep on working it around. As you're working it around, you just keep on twisting it. And like I said, this is exactly the same technique whether you're cutting into or peeling an orange, or whether you're peeling a pineapple, or whether you're peeling a watermelon or a rock melon. Any of those large fruits where you want to remove the skin, this is the best way to do it. And then you can also just go along with your little sharp knife, and if you've got any pieces of the white, the bit of pith, you can just give that a little bit of a tidy up, just like taking it to the hairdressers, and getting rid of that pith. So that's the best way to peel an orange. I'm going to take it one step further. If you guys ever wondered how chefs get those perfect bits of the citrus flesh with no pith, that's a real easy but cool trick as well. So taking a small knife again, I'm once again looking where the lines of the white is, which is our bitter stuff, and I'm just going to cut down one side of it right to the middle, looking at the other side there, and I'm going to cut down, and what I have is the perfect little segment of orange with no pith, yeah? And then you keep on doing that. You just spin your orange around, get rid of that white bit, and we just take it. Oh, that was a dry bit, but that's all right. Keep on spinning. This is my orange is not very juicy. I'm glad I didn't have plans for this. It's not very juicy. It's quite dry. And never mind. All right. So that's how you get orange segments. And then from this, once you've taken all the segments off, you know, you can go through a gorgeous salad with some sliced fennel or whatever it is. Don't waste what is going to be left over. And all that's going to be left over, I'll just do this nice and quick so I can show you what I mean. All that's going to be left over, once you've taken out the segments of your orange, it works with any citrus, any fruit that you're using, citrus fruit like lemons as well, grapefruit, and then you're left with this, right? Now this isn't ideal to eat. It's not ideal at all. But what you can do, just to save it, because you don't want to waste it, is this makes great dressing. So all you would do if you're thinking about not wanting to waste anything is just putting that in clean hands and then giving a bit of a squeeze and extracting as much of that juice as possible from that orange that would normally get biffed in the bin, and you can make a lovely dressing to go with your salad. Or even if you were just doing orange segments and grapefruit segments for breakfast, you could totally then just pour that orange juice in there. You can see it there. Just pour it over the fruit, add a bit of inulin powder, then pour it over. I said make it into a dressing. It's really up to you. Nothing gets wasted, because even with the peel, nothing gets wasted, which is really cool. So that's how we do our orange. I'm going to put that in there because I think it does need to go into salad. I don't want to waste it. Don't want to waste it. All right. Last thing that we're going to be doing, give my board one more little wipe down. Even though it's only had orange, but that's okay. We're doing one more thing today. And that last thing that we're doing involves the noise that you may have been hearing the entire time we've been doing this video. Is we're going to be cooking some food. Now, I'm going to show you guys how to get the most out of your green vegetables. So the most out of your green vegetables when it comes to cooking and eating. So the green vegetables that I have here today in front of me, I'm just going to turn up my pot a little bit. I have broccolini, which is just it's not a cousin to broccoli, but it is part of the brassica family. Very sweet, very tender. We're going to be cooking some broccolini, and we're going to also be cooking some asparagus. But I want to show you guys how to get the most out of green vegetables. Now, it doesn't matter which green vegetable you're cooking. Green vegetables don't tend to need a lot of time in the pot. So with the exception of something like a silver beet or a kale, that does need to be, they've got really big fibers that need to be broken down. They might need to be on the boil for 3 to 5 minutes to break them down. Something like an asparagus or broccolini doesn't need much at all. Does not need much. So I've got some water on here on my cooktop. A little bit of water. I'll bring you guys over. Let's say, oh, there you go. Hello. I've got a little bit of water on my cooktop there. Coming to the boil. Yes, coming to the boil now. To that water, I'm going to be adding a pinch of salt, of course. Himalayan or mineral salt, whatever you like. Couple pinches there. We want our water to have a bit of flavour. It just helps to flavour the vegetables, which is really nice. But the other thing that I'm going to be adding, which I've left in the cupboard, bear with me for a second. The other thing that I'm going to be adding, which is going to help massively with our green vegetables, especially if you're a meal prepper or you like to freeze meals down. This is going to be a massive little tip for you guys. If you want your green vegetables to stay green, what you need to do is take yourself up some baking soda, bicarb of soda, and you want to add, not much, about 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda or bicarbonate of soda goes into that water as it comes to the boil. The soda is going to help to retain the color from the vegetables. And remember, guys, we eat with our eyes. Let's not beat around the bush here. When food looks delicious, our brain tells us it's going to taste delicious as well. So it's not just about retaining nutrients and vitamins by simply cooking really quickly, but it's also about making sure our eyes have a feast too. And we're going to try and keep the color in that green vegetables. Now, I thought that this tip was actually one that it was quite a new tip. I was reading a 100-year-old cookbook 2 days ago, and one of the first tips in it was how to add a little bit of bicarb to your water to keep your vegetables looking green. So there you go. This is an old school tip. This is not new, but it may be new to you. I hope you enjoy it. I love it. I've never ever cooked greens without a pinch of bicarb. So when it comes to our asparagus, we want to get rid of those woody ends. Give it a bit of a snap. It'll tell you where it needs to break. Do not throw those away. The reason why I say that is because these can go into pickles, pickled vegetables. So you do not need to throw that away whatsoever. The only part of the asparagus that I probably will throw away is just the very ends. Just those ends there. I'm going to throw away that much. I'm going to keep these ones for pickles, which are going to be really nice. And when I make pickles from the vegetables, I chop them quite small. I'll show you how small I do that. So they're going to be about that size, and that's going to go into my pickles. So keep all those. They're really good. I'm just going to tidy up my asparagus just in case the Queen comes for lunch, even though she probably won't because she's at home looking after Charles, right? She's at home. But just in case the Queen comes, I've tidied up the ends. You didn't have to do that. But don't forget, those ends just go into your pickles. You're not throwing anything away. All right. Water is coming to a nice little rapid boil. It's not crazy. It's not going all over the place. It's a nice little rapid boil. I'm then going to take my asparagus and I'm going to drop them in to my pot. And I'm going to count, because it's asparagus. Asparagus does not need long at all. It only needs about 35 to 45 seconds maximum in there. So I'm going to do a bit of a count with my asparagus. 35, 45 seconds. What's really cool about this, do I have a, no, tongs. Right. What's really cool about this is already I'm seeing that beautiful vibrant green from the, look at the difference already, right? That's raw, that's cooked. You see that? Already that green is really beginning to pop because of that baking soda. And so a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds, and we're going to be able to take it out. Remember, when it comes to green vegetables, you can eat the stuff raw. There's nothing stopping you from cutting that asparagus up really small and eating it through a salad. You can eat it raw. And if you can eat something raw, you don't have to cook it very long. Like seriously, this is probably your best rule of thumb. If you can eat it raw, it doesn't need that much cooking when it comes to our greens. I said the only probably waiver there would be something like silver beet or kale, which does need a bit more cooking. Raw kale can be done. It's still a bit fibrous though, can be done. All right, that's been about 45 seconds. I love the color that I've achieved already just with that short amount of cooking. I'm just gonna put those into a bowl, and then they're gonna go straight over to the sink. I'm gonna run cold water over that, and what happens when the cold water is running, it's gonna halt the cooking process. Asparagus is not gonna continue to cook. It's gonna stop cooking, which is really important, because if I just had these greens now, the only way that would be okay for me not to cool them down is if I was serving them straight away onto a plate. If you are putting them into meal prepping, or if you're just taking a bit of time with it, you want to definitely cool your asparagus down. You can always reheat it quickly, but if you were serving later on, I'm talking even 5 or 10 minutes later, those greens will keep on cooking and they will overcook as they're sitting in that bowl on the bench. So we always go to that process. It's called blanching. It goes into the hot boiling water for less than a minute, and then it gets refreshed under cold running water or ice water straight away. That prevents the vegetables from cooking any further. So that's a technique known as blanching. So what do we do with our broccolini? Kind of similar. I'm just going to turn this off now. Just make sure it's cold. It is. Let's turn it off. Don't want to waste too much water. Broccolini is kind of similar. Our water's still on the boil there, which is nice. Just a nice little boil like this. Nothing crazy. Just a little bit of a boil. Same process with our broccolini. We don't want to blanch off the very ends. So I'm going to be chopping it around about there. But of course, you guys know I'm not throwing those away. They now become vegetable pickles. So those are going to go straight into my pickling jar, which is in the fridge, needing more vegetables anyway. So that goes there. So what we are left with is the broccolini tops. I want to make sure they're all of a similar size. So if you do happen to have one that's quite big, then just, cut it down the middle. Break it up into the middle, because the reason why we want things to be the same size is they cook at the same time. So rather than having big pieces and small pieces, the small pieces will be overcooked, the big pieces will be undercooked. So just have a little look through your bunch, make sure everything's kind of a similar size. You don't have to put any more baking soda into the water, you don't have to put any more salt into the water. You just go along and you drop your broccolini into the water, and once again it's a similar type of time frame, because this is a vegetable that we can eat raw as well. And if there's other vegetables that I'm thinking about that you could also do, a similar thing with, green beans are a great example of a vegetable that's great eaten raw, even though I know not a lot of people do, but it's really wonderful eaten raw, as well as zucchini. You can do that with zucchini, but blanch it only for about 30 seconds. Once again, zucchini is wonderful eaten raw. But just think about, like put it up, whatever that vegetable is, that green vegetable you come across, and ask yourself the question, can I eat this raw? And if the answer is yes, chances are you just need to lightly cook it, blanch, less than 1 minute in the boiling water, and then what do we do after that? We refresh it straight away. And refreshing it halts the cooking process, so it stops it from cooking in its track. So it doesn't overcook, it doesn't get nasty, it doesn't go all brown on us, it just stays lovely and tender, and as I was saying, not overcooked. So already, look at the color, gorgeous. I'm going to pick up the other one. I love doing this. Before and after, before and after. How green is it? It's phenomenal. It's so good. All right, that is our broccolini done. Take it straight out of the water. Once again, into our bowl, under the cold running water, or you can plunge it into ice water. It's completely up to you. If you are running it under ice water, you do that until the vegetables are cold enough that you can literally pick them up by your hand, because then you know that you've done a great job. So I'm going to go back to our asparagus here, see what we have. We have a wonderful bit of gorgeous blanched asparagus. So it's going to be so amazing to eat. This can obviously go for a salad now. As I was saying, if you want to reheat them just before serving, like you could prep this in advance. Maybe you're having a fancy dinner, or you just want to eat in a couple of hours. What you would do then is take your cooked asparagus, plunge them back into boiling water for about 10 seconds, and they will come back to life. That's all you got to do. But this is, like I said, this is a really great way to do this. Prepare your vegetables if you're a meal prepper, or if you're freezing them down so they stay nice and green, but they stop cooking. Really important they stop cooking, otherwise it's going to be mush. No one wants mush. So that's our asparagus. I'm going to have a look at our broccoli. Oh yeah, remember, if you can pick it up in your hand, it's good. And it's good. And it's good. I love this. Look at that. Right, not overcooked. I mean, gone are the days when we had to cook the living daylights out of food, right? Now we know that the best possible nutrients and minerals are kept locked in when we only cook things very briefly, or in some cases we eat things raw. So there you go, guys. I think I'm done. I'm looking around to make sure there's nothing else I was going to teach you today. No, I think I'm done. Come up here. Put the glasses back on. If you have stayed throughout the whole class, thank you. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got some little nuggets of goodness out of that. Do not forget that we are here. We're going to be here a lot in the next couple of days, because I'm still, even though our quarantine is officially ended today, we are still going to isolate, because we want to protect you, we want to protect us, we want to protect everyone in our family bubble that live in the house as well. So we're just going to keep going as long as we need to go. Lots of videos coming up, lots of good things to learn. I am sharing a recipe with you guys tomorrow on Bridget's Healthy Kitchen on Facebook. Sugar-free, dairy-free, gluten-free, banana choc chip cake. It takes 2 minutes to make. 2 minutes, and it's amazing. I'm sharing that with you guys tomorrow on Bridget's Healthy Kitchen. In the meantime, just want to say thank you for joining me today. Stay happy, stay safe, stay well, stay healthy, and we'll see you guys all really, really soon here in my quarantine kitchen. Take care.